I'm not paying attention to none of them. Oh, no more puffy juice. No more puffy juice.
So you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really got no.
Okay.
There was a time where I was sipping lean, I was popping pills, I was doing Molly, shrooms, everything.
Him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
We're going crazy.
Crazy.
It seems 50 Cent has just confirmed all our worst fears about Justin Bieber. Apparently, Diddy's been using Justin for his own benefits, and it's even said that he let his friends take advantage of Justin too. With all the recent raids at Diddy's places and some unsettling videos of Justin that have popped up online, people are really starting to question Diddy's intentions. Plus, there's talk about Justin having a trauma bond with Diddy, which might be why he's not speaking out and even covering for him. The worst part is that Diddy might have been doing this to other young male artists in the industry too. So, did Diddy really let other people in the industry take advantage of Justin? And how many other guys has he done this to? Let's dive in. So, last year Justin Bieber started making headlines again after Cassie's lawsuit came out. And that lawsuit really started unraveling some dark stuff about Diddy. Initially, it seemed like maybe people were overreacting about how toxic things could have been for Justin around Diddy. But now, with all this new info, it's hard to deny that something really sketchy was going on. Enter Jaguar Wright, who shed some light on this in her latest interview with Storm Monroe. She talked about that unsettling video where Justin is seen with Odell Beckham and Trey Songz. In the video, it kind of looks like Justin might be doing something pretty compromising with Odell, like going down on him. Some fans tried to brush it off, saying maybe Justin was just high on which is still pretty bad because it's these older guys encouraging a younger guy into that lifestyle. But Jaguar set the record straight. It wasn't just some thing. She said it was exactly what it looked like Justin was doing. And she pointed out Justin's noticeably wet mouth at the end of that clip as proof that it wasn't innocent at all. And it looked like Justin Bieber might not have been into what was going on, because Jaguar Wright mentioned that Trey Songz was basically playing lookout, making sure no one, especially the paparazzi, caught what was happening with Odell Beckham and Justin. It's a pretty twisted setup when you think about it.
And then I think about that really disturbing footage of Bieber, Odell Beckham, and Trey Songz.
Yes.
And Trey's literally sitting there playing lookout.
Playing lookout as Justin Bieber goes down on Odell.
The boy came up with his mouth wet.
Mouth wet.
According to 50 Cent, this downward spiral for Justin probably started after he spent those infamous 48 hours with Diddy. Remember that footage where Diddy's promising Justin a Lamborghini and a house during their staycation? Now that we know more about Diddy, that video just gives people the creeps. It's hard to watch without imagining what Justin had to endure under the guise of Diddy's mentorship. And yes, Diddy did end up giving Justin that Lamborghini. As soon as Justin got his driver's license, he was seen driving a Lambo that looked just like the one Diddy talked about giving him. If Diddy didn't give it to him, then that's one heck of a coincidence, right? But here's the thing. Why would Diddy give such an extravagant gift to a young artist out of the blue? A lot of folks think Diddy was playing the role of a sugar daddy, lavishing expensive gifts on Justin in return for some favors.
Yeah, the keys is yours when you get 16. You good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Then, when you get 18, you get the house. Him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
We're going crazy.
Crazy.
After hearing about all the terrible things Diddy allegedly did to Cassie, detailed in her lawsuit, and what Lil Rod has claimed, it seems like Justin Bieber might have had it even worse because he was so young when he got involved with Diddy. You can see the difference if you look at a video of Justin from back then, so young and innocent, compared to how he appeared just a few years later. It's clear he went through a lot, but it's kind of wild that people are only starting to piece things together now, even though the red flags were there the whole time. There's this one clip where Justin is visibly nervous while talking to Diddy, stumbling over his words because Diddy caught him off guard. The rumor is that Justin's team had been keeping him away from Diddy for a bit because they thought Diddy was a bad influence and was messing with Justin's health, both mentally and physically. So when Diddy showed up out of the blue, ready to dive back into their old dynamics, things got super tense. There's also this other video where it looks like Diddy is patting Justin down, maybe to check if he was wearing a wire, which is just bizarre. Whatever Diddy whispered to Justin at the end, it left Justin ending the meeting with a love you. Another thing people often overlooked was how Justin Bieber's problems with and other substances seemed to escalate after he started hanging out with Diddy. Take the 2014 Cyric party Diddy threw, where Justin was seen holding a bottle that was supposed to be Aqua Hydrate, a brand of water. But if you took a closer look, the liquid in the bottle Justin had was suspiciously yellow, hinting it might not have been water after all, possibly or something else. Years down the line, Justin openly shared how tough that period was for him. He was hurting, unhappy, confused, and even felt angry at God. It's a stark contrast to the image of him living it up at the height of his career. Despite the flashy lifestyle, Justin was struggling with some deep issues. Of course, it's important to note that Diddy wasn't the sole cause of Justin's troubles. Breaking into the industry at a young age without much solid guidance set him up for a rough ride. He was young but faced manipulation and objectification from nearly every corner. Fellow artists, interviewers, show hosts. It seemed like everyone wanted a piece of sweet JB, regardless of whether he was okay with it. Like this one time on Ellen DeGeneres' show, she actually showed this super revealing paparazzi photo of Justin and then threw some pretty awkward questions his way. It just wasn't cool, especially considering his age at the time.
You just brought a friend to Bora Bora?
Yeah.
And you're just with your friend?
Why are you putting me on the spot like this? Gosh.
I mean, you can say, why can't you say you're dating somebody?
I'm not dating anyone, though.
She's just a friend?
She's just a friend.
Back in 2011, when Justin was just 16, he had this weird interview with James Corden at the Brit Awards. Corden was just acting all strange around him.
I say this, lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
Fast forward a bit, and at the 2012 American Music Awards, there was this moment with Jenny McCarthy that was just uncomfortable. Justin was barely 18, and Jenny, who was 40 at the time, was all over him. He literally had to pull away from her, and he even started his acceptance speech by saying, "Wow, I feel so violated right now." It just shows how awkward and out of place that whole scenario was.
I feel violated right now.
And it's not just those incidents. There was another time when an interviewer was asking 15-year-old Justin some really inappropriate questions about the talk. Justin even had to call them out on it, like, why would you ask a kid those kinds of things?
Okay. So why don't you give me? I feel uncomfortable right now. Oh. Why do you want to know from a 15-year-old boy? That's pretty weird.
And here's Katy Perry just feeling Justin up.
You apparently wanted to know what a Bieber butt felt like.
Justin Bieber has really been through the ringer in this industry. The fact that he managed to navigate through those dark times is almost miraculous. And while all this was happening, the very people who should have been his protectors, like Usher and Diddy, weren't really stepping up. In fact, it often seemed like they were part of the problem. Just to give you a bit more background, Justin met Usher pretty much right after he moved to Atlanta with Scooter Braun, and he was only 13 then. Justin's mom, Patty Millette, was really hoping her son would find some genuine good people in the music business. When Usher and Scooter Braun came into the picture, she thought they might be the answer to her prayers. Unfortunately, as things unfolded, it turned out they weren't the guardians she hoped they would be. When Usher took Justin Bieber under his wing, he wasn't just acting as a mentor. He also brought in his buddy Ryan Good to be Justin's swagger coach and road manager. Patty, Justin's mom, felt like this was the moment she started losing her grip on her son. Justin was just a kid from a modest background, and suddenly he was one of the most famous faces on the planet, with more money than anyone in his family had ever seen. Patty knew Justin needed someone to keep him grounded amid all the fame and fortune, but she found herself sidelined, especially when he started touring and she couldn't be there with him. It's easy sometimes to point fingers at the parents of child stars, blaming them for the messes their kids end up in. But honestly, even the most well-intentioned parents can find themselves outmatched by the industry heavyweights. These folks are like vultures and wolves, preying on young talents like Justin. As time went on, Usher introduced Justin to Diddy, and that's when things really started to spiral. This wasn't just a new friendship, it was the beginning of a steep slide into some really dark places for Justin. If the rumors are to be believed, Diddy quickly took Justin Bieber under his wing, but not just for guidance. It seems it was more in the style he reportedly treated Usher when he was young. We've all heard stories about how Diddy took legal guardianship of Usher while he was working on his first album, but what kind of guardianship was it really? Instead of providing a stable environment, he introduced Usher to a very adult lifestyle. Usher himself has opened up about his time living with Diddy, which he referred to as the puffy flavor camp. It sounds like it wasn't exactly the best place for a young artist to develop.
Moved to New York City. and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to
City.
something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
Camp.
was called.
Gene Deal, who seems to know a lot about the inner workings of that circle, has even said that Usher's experience was way darker than most people realize. He hinted that Usher might have gone through similar that Cassie endured with Diddy, even suggesting that it got so bad at one point that Usher ended up in the hospital. And it doesn't stop there. Gene Deal also spilled the beans on something he called a S-cult that Diddy was supposedly running, which he said included both Usher and Justin. The stuff he described about this group was downright disturbing.
Puff and Usher did have a situation, and that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. Well, how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know.
Dean brought up something pretty intense about Usher, suggesting he might have a trauma bond with Diddy due to some pretty heavy stuff that went down between them. This idea isn't far-fetched when you look at how Usher talks about Diddy. It's like he's always treading lightly, picking his words super carefully to avoid letting something slip that might stir up more rumors or controversy. Although Usher has never directly addressed the whispers about being Diddy's boy toy, some details that came out in the Lil Rod lawsuit kind of paint that picture. According to the lawsuit, Diddy was pretty open about his intimate history with some big names in the industry, including a rapper and an R&B singer. The lawsuit didn't name names directly, but fans were quick to connect the dots using clues like one being a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj and another who performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. Pretty quickly, people figured out they were talking about Meek Mill and Usher. But apart from the fact that Usher has talked about how wild his experience at Puffy Flavor Camp was, Diddy himself once made a comment about how he and Usher used to sleep in the same bed when he was still a minor. Though he tried to brush it off as a silly fight over Frosted Flakes, and Kevin Hart jumped in trying to lighten the mood, the statement didn't really sit right with a lot of people.
My brother right here from day one, we used to wake up and, pause, but like just back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes.
So it's kind of understandable why Usher might seem to cover for Diddy, considering how trauma can really mess with your head. And Usher isn't the only one who seems to be under some kind of strange influence from Diddy. Meek Mill has also been acting out online, especially after he was accused of being another one of Diddy's boy toys. As you all know, Meek Mill was named in the Lil Rod lawsuit as the rapper who Diddy has allegedly had intercourse with. Jaguar Wright talked about Diddy in her recent interview with Storm Monroe, hinting she's sure he's given that behind up many times for the diddler. She even called Meek a power bottom.
I knew Meek was power bottoming.
Wow.
Well, he already done got the broke in. I just didn't know that that's why he was faking it with Nicki.
But this is not the first time Jaguar has talked about Meek Mill being passed around in the industry. In an interview with Real Life Productions, she said Meek Mill might have been used by the Smiths when he went to them for mentorship.
They do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mill.
Is anyone surprised that Will and Jada are close friends with Diddy? I mean, if Meek Mill was Diddy's side piece, he definitely could have borrowed him to the Smiths if they wanted some fresh cheeks to spread. And with all the drama around Diddy lately, old pics and clips of Meek Mill are popping up again, sparking a whole lot of chatter. Like there's this photo floating around of Meek Mill and Diddy in matching pajamas, which kind of makes you wonder if they were having cozy sleepovers. Then there's this clip where Diddy calls Meek daddy. And I mean, hearing two grown men call each other, that isn't your everyday buddy-buddy talk. Even more intriguing is this video from a club where Meek Mill is performing, and Diddy just snaps his head around when Meek drops some lyrics. It looked like Diddy was hit by some intense memories or something right then. Now, Meek has been pretty vocal, trying to squash rumors about his sex preference. The guy practically lived on Twitter for a week straight, posting about how much he's into women. But interestingly, he never outright denied the buzz about him being Diddy's so-called boy toy. Anyway, sources are now saying Justin might have had the trauma bond with Diddy because even after everything, he still publicly talks about how he loves Diddy, and even teamed up with him for a track on Diddy's Love album called Moments. That's kind of odd since Justin kind of stepped back from music and even sold his entire entire music catalog for a whopping $200 million last year. So why dive back in with Diddy unless there's something more, like maybe feeling pressure to keep things smooth with Diddy? Some folks are whispering that Justin might be scared to really speak up because, you know, people who've crossed paths with Diddy have a way of just disappearing. Since federal authorities raided Diddy's homes, several people have come forward to share their experiences with the hitmaker, but also shining a dark light on the deaths and prison time of those who were once close to him. Diddy rose to fame in the early 90s. In 1990, he began interning at Uptown Records after being tapped by CEO Andre Harrell to work with their young artist. Diddy's work at Uptown was crucial in shaping emerging artists such as Father MC, Jodeci, and Mary J. Blige. It's been reported in 1993 that Diddy and Uptown parted ways over creative and business disputes after his mentor fired him. Within weeks of Diddy being fired, he started his infamous Bad Boy Records. In 2020, Harrell passed away at the age of 59. According to his former partner, Harrell suffered from heart problems leading up to his death. But Harrell wasn't the only untimely passing of key figures wrapped in Diddy's inner circle. New York rap legend Heavy D was signed to Uptown Records as its first act. In December of 1991, Combs was overseeing a charity basketball game with Heavy D at a City College of New York gymnasium in Harlem. The gym reportedly had a capacity of a little more than 2,700 people. However, nearly 5,000 people showed up, and security couldn't control the crowd. When organizers closed the door and stopped letting attendees inside, people broke through the gym doors, rushing into the lobby, causing a stampede. 9 people were crushed to death at the bottom of the staircase, and more than 20 others were injured. Both Diddy and Heavy D, whose real name is Dwight Myers, were cited as being responsible for the tragedy. The two didn't face criminal charges following the incident. However, multiple wrongful death and personal injury lawsuits were filed. Diddy reportedly settled the final lawsuit in 2000. Heavy D passed away in 2011 from a pulmonary embolism stemmed from a blood clot in his leg. After his passing, Diddy referred to Heavy D as the person who gave him his first chance in the music industry. Another key originator from Diddy's Uptown days, and what could arguably be the most personal to the mega hitmaker, is the untimely passing of the mother of 3 of his children. Kim Porter was tapped by Andre Harrell to be an assistant for Uptown Records. She and Diddy would later develop a relationship and were an on and off couple from 94 to 2007. During that time, the two welcomed 3 children together, Christian Combs and twin daughters Delilah and Jessie. But the two reportedly ended their relationship after Kim suspected the Bad Boy founder was unfaithful during her pregnancy. Diddy would go on to welcome another daughter just months before the twins were born. Kim has often been referred to as the love of Diddy's life. However, according to former Bad Boy artist Mark Curry, Diddy was violent toward Kim Porter. Curry claimed previously that Diddy broke her nose and wiretapped her phone in homes.
Speaking of Kim Porter, because you knew Kim Porter, is it true that Diddy broke her nose?
Bust her nose, man. Anytime a man would go out his way to wiretap someone's phone or put taps in their homes just to monitor their conversation, that's a sign of insanity.
Kim Porter passed away in 2018 after suffering flu-like symptoms just days before her passing. A medical examiner later ruled she died from pneumonia. After last week's raids, Kim Porter's ex Al B. Sure, who happens to be the biological father of Diddy's stepson Quincy Brown, seemingly alluded to Diddy playing a role in his 2022 coma. He told audience members at the Equal Justice Now Awards that he'll be producing the Al B. Sure life story, telling the crowd, "Hold on to your britches and you'll really understand how I ended up in a coma." Then making a quip, seemingly directed toward Diddy, "You're really gonna need to call Homeland Security." Al B. Sure was hospitalized in July of 2022 and remained in a coma for more than 2 months. He previously told media outlets he had been intubated and on a ventilator with tracheotomy and even had to receive a new liver. A source told Page 6, "The insinuation that Diddy put Al in the hospital is crazy and fake news. Anyone who thinks that Al was a great dad should be asking where he's been the last 3 decades." Diddy adopted Al B. Sure's son, whom he shares with the late Kim Porter, and raised as his own. In 2009, Quincy wrote an open letter to his biological father, titling it "A Letter to My Father." He wrote in part, quote, "I grew up without my father, an irreplaceable force and influence that was absent in my life. I watched other kids enjoy the embraces of theirs, and I searched for a way to reconcile the meaning of my circumstance. Albert Brown, known as Al B. Sure, is my biological father, but Sean Combs, known as Diddy, has been a father figure in my life for as long as I can remember. Sean Combs is the person whom I look up to and appreciate as a father. He is the person who helped mold me into the person I am today, and will always try to live to his expectation. He has always been supportive of me, and I will forever love and respect him. As far as my biological biological father goes. The spitting image is all I have taken from him. Since that letter, the two seem to have mended their relationship. But after the raids on Diddy's homes, Al B. Sure shared this image to his Instagram page, seemingly referring to that 2009 letter writing, "Letter to my son. Come home, the door is wide open. You're safe here, son. I love you." Also, the creepy part about all the deaths linked to Diddy is that Jaguar Wright pointed out each person was supposedly working on a tell-all book when they met their untimely ends. She said, "I was thinking to myself the other day, Uptown Records started with 5 people. Andre Harrell, Al B. Sure, Heavy D, Puffy, and Kim was the longest employee. She was there from the very beginning. She was Andre's personal assistant. Kim is dead, Heavy D is dead, Andre Harrell is dead. The only 2 left are Puffy and Al almost died. Ain't that interesting?" She continued saying, "You want to know what they all had in common though, the survivors and late of Uptown Records? They were all writing tell-all books. Andre was writing a book just before he died. Heavy D was working on a book before he died. Kim Porter was working on a book before she died. And Al B was working on a documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma."
You want to know what they all had in common though? The survivors and the late of Uptown Records, they were all writing tell-all books. Heavy D was working on a book before he died. Kim Porter was working on a book before she died.
She wonders, saying, "Has Puffy ever been in a coma? Has anything happened to him? He must be the luckiest mother F, because it seems that everybody that worked at Uptown Records from the Get's beginning are gone, just him remaining."
Has anything happened to him? He must be the luckiest because it seems like everybody that worked at Uptown Records from the very beginning.
With all this weirdness floating around, it's no surprise Justin might be staying quiet about his dealings with Diddy. But if there's even a shred of truth to these rumors, Diddy could be in some serious trouble soon. What do you guys think about all this? Drop your thoughts in the comments and we'll catch up in the next video.